This is Sangy Davis. It's time for the lion to Ika. For unity is strength. Let us come together, my brethren and sisters, and forward to the motherland. Enough love. And this is the lion's voice.
Highly.
Jah
Ras
Tafari.
Tafari
I'm Nana Farika. The time has come for the lioness to tell her story from her viewpoint and tell the world who Queen Omega is. This is the lion's voice.
So yeah, when I arrived in school, it didn't surprise me that the girls just the first question they asked me was, "Which country in Africa do you rule?" Okay, that's my first question ever when I entered a public space in this country. So that was it. Everything is set. I nearly got beaten that night, because I went home. I said to the girls, "Oh, you definitely have to wait until tomorrow. I'm not answering you today. You have to wait until tomorrow. So you think about it." And because of course those girls had their parents had properties in Kenya, in Tanzania, and in Ghana. Their parents had properties or were, diplomats in these countries. So they knew because they were going there for their summer holidays or some of their summer holidays. So they knew what African people looked like, So they just immediately, it wasn't a put down. It was a rulership, you understand? Not what I was experiencing in Jamaica.
Wow.
So my immediate thing was I went that night to the library. After school, I raced into the library, man. I went to study Africa, okay, because I wanted to choose which kingdom I ruled in. I'm telling you, I nearly got beaten that night, man, because my mom, she couldn't believe that that was my first day in school. Okay, she told me, "Your first day in school and you come home late?" The first thing that got me was this, okay, in Jamaica. In my family, I was not even known by my name too much because, especially in those days, it was very important what color, shade you were, in growing up. And even in my own family, I came with all the maroon things, whereas the rest of the family didn't have it, you see. So my grandmother, when she told me the story later on, when I told her, when I asked about why people were prejudiced against me, she said, when you were 5, you asked me that question. She said, and I told you the same thing I'm telling you now when you're 10 years old. And that the question, the answer is, it's because you carry the wealth of the nation.
Hmm.
That's why
Wow.
you will always have that. And so it was a completely new experience, brethren. Okay.
Wow.
And they got up and went. They said, "Oh, we're going over the ISIS now. Anytime you're ready, just come." Right? And they went. And I sat there in the room and I was just, checking out this place. It was so grand. Bridget, I tell you, it was very grand because, the bed was, nicely made up with one of those satin sheets. And she had a dresser, right, with the crochet things on this, the style, right, the
Yes.
crochet things and these ornaments on it, right. And as I sat on the bed and laid back in my heights, in my heavens, I started looking around the room and admiring these 2 pieces of furniture. Then I saw the wall was made of newspaper. I was like, "What?" The wall, did you hear me? The wall
Yes.
was made of newspaper and cardboard, man. I was admiring this beautiful place that I was in without looking at the walls and without looking. And now that my eyes were open, I was like in shock. And then the next thing, I looked down on the floor to rot and it was sand. It was sand on the ground. I'm telling you, Bridget, I had some big culture shock, man. You know what I mean? It's really seriously like, whoa, Okay. And then, before I could kind of catch myself into, it wasn't prejudicial or judgmental or nothing. I was just amazed that I thought this was the most beautiful place in the world. I was so comfortable inside there. I was so comforted. I was so airy, right? And then I saw that. So it's like, whoa, okay. Oh, yeah, you can be airy without this, without that. There's a whole bunch of stories and treatments. Just to know that at Tough Gong, I just say should just say this, because Bob Marley, Tough Gong was the first international Rastafari company that had only Rastafari people working inside there in Jamaica. And it was really a fantastic role because there were so many reggae music was just coming up. It was just happening. A lot of artists didn't have any idea about publishing or anything like that. So as soon as they came in, and then Virgin was signing people. So as soon as they were signed, I was on to their publishing, setting up their publishing for them so that people could make money, from their music and from their songs and from their works, So that was exciting. So there I was as a music publisher, and I know all the record companies now. Island was my, and Drop Off Tapes. We were almost on the same street, Virgin and Island, in Ladbroke Grove. And so dropping off the tape, I'd pick my son from nursery. He was 2 years old. Pick him from nursery and then go to Island and drop off the tapes. Usually, as soon as I arrive in the door, he's in the company somewhere because nobody's seen a dreadlocks 2-year-old boy before, And so it was like, wow, he was just, and he was very bright and he was ready to talk to anybody, no matter what. He's got my DNA going on. I see it in my grandchildren now, bold as anything. They don't care about it. They care what you look like. They're talking to you if they want to. You know what I mean? Like this. And so, so then I couldn't find him. And Denise Mills, Chris Blackwell's secretary, said, Bob Marley's in the studio, That's probably where he is. So he spent all the time looking for him. Couldn't find him anywhere in the company. So as I went to the door, there was Bob Marley saying, this is my youth, my youth, this, my youth, this. So I knew immediately that you must be talking about my son. So when I got to the door of the studio, my son is sitting on Bob's lap. And I see him, and he's just picked me up because my son is like that. Even in his adult times now, I just, if we're in the same environment, I just have to think about him, and he's right there in front of me like this, like this. So yeah, so it was like that. As soon as I looked in the room, he saw me, but he just switched back himself. So Bob said, "Are you mad at that?" He said it loudly so I could hear him. Right? At the door. So my son must have said yes. I could hear what my son, but he must have said yes. He just turned around. Bob Marley just turned around to me and he said, "Am I you this, Am I you this?" And I said, I'm like, okay. I said, it's obvious you don't know biology because I'm his mother and I've never seen you before in my life. Like this. What? English lady? Am I you this? That's our first meeting, okay? A couple of days later, he's on my phone. No, I've got to say this because when he said, "Go on to your mother," like that, my son came off his lap. And as he was coming towards me, I could see there's Bob Marley's face in the background there. My son, and they seem to just merge into one face. I'm like, what is going on here? Because he looks just like him. That's the first time I meet him. So I said to Jah at the time, I said it to him, I said, you say you're going to give me trouble in my life now because people going to believe says this man picked me, This. That was what I said to Jah straight. He was 2 years old. And believe me, up to a couple of days ago, I've had that. Wow, are you sure? There? Of course. If he was Bob Marley's child, the whole world, not just people on Earth, in Jupiter and Mars too, they would know. So yes, just to say briefly, and all the details are shown on the screen. Please link up. If you're in America, we work with Sister Elaine, that's Deborah Walters. She's our main distributor over there. But we're looking to widen that. So please just get in touch if you're interested. We have 16-month education calendar. It's unmissable. Speeches, announcements every day. We're talking about current news affairs, all of the Rastafari positive vibrations. We're only dealing with positive things happening in the Rastafari nation. And there's so much. There's so much. Ones would tend to think sometimes, you think, oh, it's not happening because you don't know. I mean, there's histories inside there. Look, I'm here at Kush Month, which, by the way, for 16 months. So we start in September of 1 year and we go all the way to December of the next year. So that's how you get the 16 months.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Well, great is the Almighty, and greatly to be praised in the city of Askale Selassie I, the mountain of His holiness.
Yeah, from Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, the whole entire continent.
Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion, from Accra to Addis Ababa.
Yes, it's a beautiful continent, better country, mama.
Very beautiful.
From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile. From
I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I see Mama. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw. We gonna use solar energy, use sanitation to build the ecology. We utilizing green technology. Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka the Chasmanch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk. Welcome to Lion Talk and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Today we have a very exciting guest. I really am excited about this show. One of our elder matriarchs who has been on the battlefield from that time. We're gonna go deep in some history today, family. I just want the item, get your ital snacks. We are going from Jamaica. We are going to take a tradition into the UK. Then we are going to go into the mountains of Zion. We may touch over even in Ghana a little bit and some of the other African countries. This queen is well traveled. We're going to really go into some serious history work personally with the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley. We can touch some of them story there too. This is one of those episodes, family. So as I say, if you have your smoothie, your ital snacks, whatever you can get right now is the time. Big Head Spliff, if that is what you need, make sure you have it. Before we get into the episode, let me just big up the Lion Pride. We are growing. rapidly. We've never experienced growth like this on the channel. I really want to give thanks to the Lion Pride. If this is your first time watching, if you subscribe, you are part of the Lion Pride. And I have to big up the Lion Pride on Patreon. These are the ones who financially invest every month in keeping the lights on the channel, making sure that we are able to scale this operation. We want this to be a major network. We don't want to just stay on YouTube. So we give thanks to everyone who is supporting the platform to grow. Big up my Ubuntu Lion Pride, those who are giving contribution. I want to see some sister, I want to see, and if you want to join the Ubuntu Lion Pride, that's contribution over $50 US currency. You would become part of the Ubuntu Lion Pride. You can see that we have the branding now. We are investing those resources to make the platform a better platform. Ras Tafari, independent, non-aligned media. I've said it to the IDEM. We have to save ourselves. We have to invest in ourselves. We have to fund ourselves. And saying that, when I introduce our guest today, she has a calendar that needs support. So we're asking the Lion Pride, all of the family, to go to the website and support, purchase the calendar. Let us circulate the Rastafari dollar. Let us show the economic power. That is our commandment right now from Kalamawi. He said neocolonialism has been brought with economic tools, and it's with economic tools that we will secure our liberation. So let I circulate the Rastafari dollar and support this powerful project. We do have Haile Selassie's Ethiopia, Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings. I book is featured in the July month of the calendar, courtesy of this royal queen I am going to introduce. So this is a true immunity work, and it's very important in terms of that connectivity and preserving culture, our Isla days, and information source. Very important piece of work for the community, centralization work. So I'm asking all of I family to make sure they purchase one, put it in the kitchen, on the fridge, somewhere there, so that you can have this cultural artifact, which has been going on for years, as part of your collection. All right, so let me take time and introduce our guest for today. Our guest has worked as an educator, book publisher, famous book, one of the most famous pieces of literature within Rastafari ever created. She was part of that's the Jah Hug magazine. Vivid imagery and pictures that sparked energy throughout the four corners of creation. That work. She has also worked as a music publisher extensively in the music industry. We'll touch some of that. That's my area, so I'm looking forward to that part there. She is also just an all-around battlefield angel. Her daughter is also a repatriate. We're going to have our daughter on this platform in Ghana. So she has done something to retain that second generation, which we're going to be, as the item know, the second generation, the retention and how we get the second generation to continue the mission is one of the central themes on this platform. So I want to ask the Lion Pride to help I to welcome one of our greats. The history is written. This name shall be dear. Please bless I and welcome Mama Askale. Welcome Selassie. Welcome Mama Askale Selassie. Please, greetings, royal greetings.
Ras Tafari, Haile Selassie I, and I representing Empress Menen by his side. Yes, I give thanks, and it's an honor to be here to share with the ones, because we're all part of the one community of Lions Pride, and we are proud to be in that community. Come unity. Give thanks, give thanks.
Yes.
Yes, I.
Give thanks, give thanks. So, welcome to the platform. I want to, as customary, when we have someone of the high stature, we're going to ask the eye to step into the Lion Voice time machine and take us to the moment of your birth. Where were you born? And please just give us your journey to Rastafari.
Aye. Yes, I give thanks, give much thanks. It's an honor. I was born in Jamaica, in a place called Octembedi. It's not actually on the map of Jamaica, but it's situated between three parishes: Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, and Manchester. And it's deep maroon country, this area. And that's where I was born. And I left soon after that. Actually, I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother moved to Kingston. My mother emigrated to England. I went to live with my grandmother, who moved to Kingston, to some property that family had there. And I just lived a few years with her, but it was a grounding with my grandmother that really shaped my life forever, And I was born, grew up with my grandmother, and now I'm in my grandmother's state. So I have a greater understanding of that life, as it were, growing up, what to do, how to behave, and so on. Because you while you're experiencing that growing up, you don't actually think about yourself as a parent, as a grandparent. You're not thinking on those lines, but you surely do recall when it reached that time in your life, you have a memory. And if you have strong foundations, you'll always remember, the great things. Even this morning, I was teaching my granddaughter about her own personal thing. Like, I gave her a handbag when she was like 7. Okay. So when I gave the handbag to my daughters when they were 7 and 8, I also gave them the lesson of making sure that wherever you're going, you bring it with you. You'll have lots of them over the time, but you bring it with you as your personal thing, so you can put your personal items inside, and even be prepared to get money to put inside. Because when I said that, she laughed because she was holding a £10 note that I'd given her in her hand. I'm like, "Where's your handbag?" So it's just keeping certain let's say empowerment traditions,
Yes.
making sure. So I got that from my grandmother, growing up with my grandmother while my mother was in England. And then I joined her when I was 10 years old to England.
Okay.
So,
Were you in a Rastafari family?
No, I was brought up in a Seventh-day Adventist family. I later was saying that that, to be honest with you, our Seventh-day Adventist family background was also very strong for my Rastafari life, because as I say, we are the only two people calling, let's say from a religious perspective, who can eat at the same table. That's the overall. Especially it applies to, I would imagine, more the 12 tribe house and mansion, put it like that. Even though the foundation of Seventh-day Adventism is complete vegan, that was really the foundation, and that's how we grew, really, knowing how to eat non-meat, non-dairy foods, and stuff like that from as a child. So it became a habit. It became natural. So when we go through that phase where we change everything and we start living some other lives, where you want to maybe try things that you never had as a child, and then you have to come forward to that again. You have to come forward to the best life things. Yes, give thanks.
So what was it like living in the UK as a young child, traveling from Jamaica? What was it like, and what year did you reach the UK?
I got here in the 60s, early 60s. And it was for me, I loved it. I'm sorry, but I have to say I'm sorry because a lot of people didn't. I loved being away from Jamaica, okay? The first thing that got me was this, okay, in Jamaica. In my family, I was not even known by my name too much because, especially in those days, it was very important what color, shade you were, in growing up. And even in my own family, I came with all the maroon things, whereas the rest of the family didn't have it, you see. No, my grandmother, when she told me the story later on, when I told her, when I asked about why people were prejudiced against me, she said, when you were 5, you asked me that question. She said, and I told you the same thing I'm telling you now when you're 10 years old. And that the question, the answer is, it's because you carry the wealth of the nation. That's why
Wow.
you will always have that. She said that you will always have that in your whole life. So it's good that you have it now in your family, she said, because the wider world is like that, So it's good for you to know how to experience it and to know how to appreciate love who you are, appreciate who you are. She told me, and so I arrived here in the UK, and it was just awesome because my first experience of school, even, you know, it was the 3 girls were I went to an all girls grammar school. My mom, she insisted, okay, so we had to go through a lot of interviews before getting to that school because she kept me at home. That was the school she wanted me to go to. It's an all girls grammar school, so she wanted me there. I was bright enough, she knew it, and it was all girls, which is what she wanted for me, and the system didn't seem to know that, but she was hell-bent on making sure that they did by keeping me at home until they would accept me. And it was all about some interviews to get into the school, So the first one, I was really shy because I was checking them out to see what it is they wanted from me, why I had to do this. So, But the second one, I was ready. And the third one was the last one. There was supposed to be a series of 6 interviews. But after the third one, I could see everyone was like, why is she here? because I learned early that the language that I will speak will be the language of the Queen. And it will be the language of the newsreader. Okay, there's only 2 people. The newsreader at the time and the Queen, because my mother was a very big fan of the Queen, so she used to listen to her speeches a lot. so I heard her tone, I like the tone that she had. Okay, I like that tone that she had, and that was it. That was the tone, and that was the newsreader, and that's how I went to my third interview, and I was really bold and excuse me, I'm sorry, but why am I here? And why do you need to know that? And and they're like, okay, let her in. she's confident because one of the things. Okay, so I might not have been brought up in a Ras Tafari family per se, but I was, because my own philosophy is that most people are Rastafarians, but they don't know. That's my personal philosophy. Because I think most people want to be the best that they can possibly be. And the best good person that they can possibly be. So from that perspective, everyone is, but they don't know. So those who know, they live that good life. They are those good people. They shine that light by whichever name they want to call it, because it's coming from within. Yeah. So my thing was yeah, this Marcus Garvey, my mother, she always told me this one thing about one thing from Marcus Garvey that she always drilled to me. She said, with confidence, you have won before you started. I don't know. Even today, I've checked the rest of the speech, and the what follows after that. But that's the part that I remember, and that's the part that governed my life. With confidence, you've won before you started. That means you're ready. You're ready to win. So that you can actually get through. So yeah, when I arrived in school, it didn't surprise me that the girls the first question they asked me was, which country in Africa do you rule? Okay, that's my first question ever when I entered a public space in this country. So that was it. Everything is set. I nearly got beaten that night, because I went home. I said to the girls, oh, you definitely have to wait until tomorrow. I'm not answering you today. You have to wait until tomorrow. So you think about it. And because, of course, those girls, their parents had properties in Kenya, in Tanzania, and in Ghana. Their parents had properties or were, diplomats in these countries. So they knew, because they were going there for their summer holidays, or some of their summer holidays. So they knew what African people looked like, So they just immediately, it wasn't a put down. It was a rulership, you understand? Not what I was experiencing in Jamaica.
Wow.
So my immediate thing was, I went that night to the library. After school, I raced into the library, man. I went to study Africa, okay, because I wanted to choose which kingdom I ruled in. I'm telling you, I nearly got beaten that night, man, because my mom, she couldn't believe that that was my first day in school. Okay, she tell me, your first day in school and you come home late? What is that?
So what was your first realization or exposure to Ras Tafari?
Here I was. Okay, so as a teenage, 11 years old now, and my brother, my senior brother, was a big Pan-Africanist, right? Dr. Fitzroy Griffith III, very big Pan-Africanist, and he was, I was going to the same school, the same grammar school, with my dashiki in my bag. Okay, so a good thing my mom was working, so she was out of the house between certain times. I worked out what time she got home, so I could get home just before her, or get home just after her with an excuse, so I could go to these meetings, you see. Wearing my dashiki, we're talking 1963, 64, right? 60, yeah. So, there I was, so I was learning about African leaders, and, I was the youngest person around these grown-ups, doctors from different parts of Africa, at the place called the West Indian Student Center. It's very famous in England for growing leaders, Joshua and Coleman, people like that used to go, because they were students in England in their university years. So back in those days, in the 60s, Africa was just getting its independence. And so it was a growing, thriving community. And I always associated myself with African people, you see, from those times. It wasn't, I had the Jamaican thing, yes, but, that was like secondary to what was going on with me, the acceptance I was getting in that circle there. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. So while there, I was getting a lot of, cultural information. Because, for example, my brother made reference that I was his half sister. All these amazing people who he looked up to, and he was on their levels, doctor this and doctor super mathematicians and scholars. They were like, excuse me? No. You will never refer to her in that way again, ever. So we got that sorted. so I could never use that in my life, like using it with my children or anybody around me. I don't use those terms at all, those terminology. So that was knocked on the head. And so, I came home from one of these meetings one evening, okay? My mom was I think it might have been like a past news item or something that was going on about the Queen's speech. And on the picture, on the television, because, none of us actually stayed in the room with her when she was on watching the Queen's speech. So she called us, come and look at the Black King. Come and look at the Black King. You see, the way that she said it, me and my brother run into the room. Okay, and there we saw His Imperial Majesty on his visit to the UK. Might have been 1954 or something like that. But he was, he was with the Queen, and she was saying how this is the person that she most reveres in the whole world. This is the only person that she bows to with honor. And, that kind of talk. She was talking, and my mom was like, wow, this is the Black King, So I went away from that. Yeah. And I thought, let me check this one out. Because I liked what happened to her. She had a different perspective. She didn't really like Africa and African things, you know what I mean? Despite her Garveyism, she didn't, really. So, that was really great. That was my first time of sighting him. And he stayed with me. So,
That's so powerful. And that is such a powerful testimony, because the I generation had a chance to see the physical impact of His Majesty trotting through creation. I come from the generation of them that seek Him, that have to seek His face. They erased Him like He never even existed after 1975. So after that first initial sighting, that planted the seed, what was your journey to now embracing the faith?
Now, I was on a Pan-African journey, because my mom would not, I was still living at home, okay? My mom would not accept not even Africa, let alone Ras Tafari. Anytime I hear any word out of her mouth about Africa or Ras Tafari, it's just like, no, this is not someone you can talk to about these things or have a discussion, because you're going to have a fight. So I couldn't wait any longer till I was 17 to actually leave home. And, I was embarking on a study program, because I was really about studying, And, that's when I really got into knowledge and find out information about rulership. It was about leadership from Black people, the Black leaders were great. And I wanted to, know that. And then it was like almost a physical thing, because by the time I was 18, only a year or so later, I was now coming into my space of, because it was a Black Power thing going on all the time. So I had my afro, I had my cheeky wardrobe. I now left home, so I could go to meetings, I could go to gatherings of Black people, and soak up all that culture. It was all about that. It was all about and getting courage to be my Black self, what I mean, in whatever is going on, with the knowledge of greatness that I was cultivating. And so I had my first child when I was 19, and all my children were, before I actually even became pregnant, I was already on my journey. and started growing my dreadlocks and started to look inner, taking off, leaving certain things behind of my life, of certain behaviors and stuff. So yeah, then it was like a physical thing because I went on a TV, London Weekend Television. They had this first big delving into reggae music, and as I was already working as a music publisher in the UK, they asked me to go to Jamaica to go and so I was supposed to be the lead interviewer on a program they were doing for TV. But it wasn't, when I arrived there with the film crew and everything, it seemed to me that it wasn't my job. There were people in Jamaica that were desperately hungry for a job like that. Yeah, who, although I was the one being paid like to do it, I found myself seeking to find somebody who was already there on that job. Yeah, who was already in the place. And, I found this Rasta sister, and she was already on the job. And yeah, she kind of turned it over to her. Like I seemed to have got into trouble, but she was a model, you see. So she had all the, I was now, I'm now a Rasta woman covering up, and I know that they were having issues with who was going to front the show, the interviews, you see. That was the thing with them, even though they were thinking about reggae music only. They weren't thinking about Rastafari being the core of this. And the whole new force of the music was about Rastafari culture and history and knowledge. And so, yeah, so I did a Rastafari thing, which I didn't even realize that's what it was at the time. I beat myself up, but sort of just got this sister to do it. So it was great though, because I could now just go along to all the interviews. And the first one that was set up, I'd set it up, was to be with at Oxford Road. Oxford Road was the center place for all the Rastafari reggae musicians gathering. All of the Wailers, the Tommy Cowans, all of the people, everyone gathering there in Kingston. That was the place. And the day that was arranged for, okay, there were two things arranged. That was the first, in the morning, it was the interview with the reggae artists. And in the afternoon, it was to go to Bull Bay on the beach to meet the Rastafarians who were living on the beach at Bull Bay. Okay, so that's the Nyabingi brethren and sisters who were on the beach there, and I'm talking 1975. So at this time now, I'm just fast forward somewhat, right? But 1975. So in 1975, I actually was there, and so I left the hotel to go join the film crew at Oxford Road. And when I left the hotel, I couldn't get a taxi. I was taken on this journey, okay, that was completely alone. I walked, I went back inside and asked them where could I get the best way to get a taxi. And they told me just go out and just walk up the road up there. There's a taxi stand. And I walked up there. There was not a living soul on the road. So, I started to follow that inner me that says, okay, you're being taken somewhere. You're being taken on a journey here, And I did. And honestly, Bridget, I walked for about an hour, okay? I didn't see another living soul. All I know is I asked the direction now to Oxford. I asked, when I'd gone back to the hotel, I'd asked for the taxi and B, the direction to Oxford Road. And so I got the direction, go up straight there, and if you turn right and you go straight right, you get to it, kind of thing. So of course one road took about 20 minutes to get to the end of that one. I didn't see a living soul to say anything to, and then I got to the end of the road, top of the road, and I started to turn right, and I didn't even see cars. There was not even cars that day. I don't know, So it was like I was in another space, another time zone or something. I'm telling you, I was completely not there physically like this. Anyway, I was now on this reality that something was happening, something bigger than me that I'm just going along with. And as I wasn't seeing anyone, I wasn't even scared. I was just like, let me just walk along here and see. Soon I'll see someone and I know that I'm on the right journey, because it brought me back to my start of my journey, where, I was also a member of the 12 tribes of Israel. And by this time, of course, I'd met Bob Marley already before in England. But anyway, so just to come forward again, I am from the tribe of Asha. And the tribe of Asha, the 12 tribes, when Bob Marley introduced me to Gadman, yeah, and Gadman came to see Bob and he introduced me to him. Asked him, what's the purpose of the 12 tribes of Israel? Asked him, and he said to me, did you know, nobody's ever asked me that before. And I said, well, I'm asking you now, so please tell me, what is the purpose of it? And he said, to know yourself. Those are the words of Gadman, to know yourself. So I love that. I said, okay, sign me up. Everybody laughed. So knowing about Asha, knowing about the faith, because we are about what on one hand is doubt, and on the other hand is the faith, the strongest faith ever. So you know that when I get my lessons from the Most High, they come like a thunderbolt. You understand me? It's there's no way you're gonna miss it, So this was one of those experiences I was having, where it was like weird, outer body experience, Anyway, so I walked down, and the next thing I saw a woman coming out of a building, like way ahead of me. So I ran up, man, I speed up myself and got to her, and she said, "Oh, I can't stop. My boss is inside. Just go inside." And she went. I pushed the door open in this building, and there were 3 floors in this building on Lady Musgrave Road, right? And there were 3 floors on this building, and first floor, nobody. Second floor, no, I'm calling out, there's nobody. There's nobody on them. Second floor, nobody. So I get to the 3rd floor, and there's no, I'm like, what is, she just came out of this building. She said her boss was inside. So I got to the very end of that door. I'm knocking on doors and trying and not opening up. And finally I get to the last door, and the person said, come in, when I knocked. And I pushed on the door. And there was a Rasta man, but he didn't look around at me. He sat with his back to the door, and he was on the phone. And he just said, come in. And I came in the door and I stood in the doorway. I'm like, okay, he's a Rasta man. I'm like, okay. So he turned around, he said, oh, daughter. And I'm like, no, I'm not your daughter. he said, daughter. I'm like, no, that's not my name. He said, okay, you're a daughter of the Most High. He said to me. I said, yes, I agree. Like this. So he said, this is my Jamaican experience. I've been away for more than the time I spent in England. I spent more time already of my life than, that time.
Yes.
Anyway, so he said, oh, come in, sit down. So I said, oh no, I can't really stop, because I'm actually meant to be going to Oxford Road, and I couldn't get a taxi. I've been trying to get a taxi to get there, and I'm talking like this. I've been trying to get a taxi to get there. He said, oh, Oxford Road? Yeah, man, that's where I'm going, And I have a car, I'll drive you, but you have to give me a little minute. Let me just have a couple of things to do. Then I'll drive you. So I said, oh, you're going there? Like this, I couldn't believe it. He said, yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm just going to finish up a couple of things. You might have seen my secretary go out. She's going to, when she come back, then I'll be able to leave. Just sit down, man. You're cool. Everything like this. So he said, that was it. He wasn't even talking to me. He didn't have any more conversation. He was busy. And then the secretary came, and we went. And on the road, he said to me, so where are you from? And I tell him, I'm coming from England. I'm working with his TV crew. He said, oh, right. But I don't think they're there anymore, at Oxford Road. But we can go, just so you can see. I think they left now. They're gone to Bull Bay. He knew the schedule better than me. He said they're gone to Bull Bay by now. So I said, all right, okay, so bring me to Oxford Road, please. So we're there, they're gone, went to Bull Bay, and that was it, really, because Bull Bay was my first Nyabingi,
Okay.
1979, 1975, with daughter Faraika, daughter Bubbles.
I was just gonna ask you if Mama Faraika was there, because I know she is there, and I'm gonna show her this interview. That is one of my teachers.
Oh, definitely. Oh my God, listen to me, brother. Let me tell you, it was so awesome. She was there. And you know what? The brethren who brought me was Janoi Jaja, who's the first Rastafari photographer in Jamaica. And he, yeah, man, professional, really, really good. He actually took that picture. There's a classic picture of me and Mama Faraka in 1975. And he actually took that picture of us. So that was my Nyabingi. That was my first, because daughter Bubbles, she was living there. It was in her house that we were. Three sisters, that's daughter Bubbles, Nona Faraka, and myself, the three of us, and I sat there. I'm the youngest. I don't know anything about anything, right? Yeah, except I know how to. I will smoke, yes. So they say, and they give me a spliff. They give me, and I roll this, and it was all. There was no cigarette in it. There was no, It's like, oh my God, okay, it's my first time to ever be smoking Ita, and so it was a completely new experience, brethren. Okay.
Wow.
And they got up and went. They went. They said, "Oh, we're going over the ISIS now. Anytime you're ready, just come." Right? And they went, and I sat there in the room, and I was just, checking out this place. It was so grand, Bridget. I tell you, it was very grand because the bed was nicely made up with one of those satin sheets, and she had a dresser, right, with the crochet things on this, the style, right, the
Yes.
crochet things and these ornaments on it, right. And as I sat on the bed and laid back in my heights, in my heavens, I started looking around the room and admiring these two pieces of furniture. Then I saw the wall was made of newspaper. I was like, what? The wall, did you hear me? The wall
Yes.
was made of newspaper and cardboard, man. I was admiring this beautiful place that I was in without looking at the walls, and without looking. And now that my eyes were open, I was like in shock. And then the next thing, I looked down the floor to rot, and it was sand. It was sand on the ground. I'm sitting in bridge, and I had some big culture shock, man. You know what I mean? It's really seriously like, whoa, okay.
Wow.
And then, before I could kind of catch myself into, it wasn't prejudice or judgmental or nothing. I was just amazed that I thought this was the most beautiful place in the world. I was so comfortable inside there. I was so comfortable. I was so airy, right? And then I saw that. So it's like, whoa, okay. Oh, yeah, you can be airy without this, without that. You know what I mean? And then I heard the drums. The drums. The drums were so loud. I thought the drums was coming from inside. It was my heartbeat. And I was not feeling like I couldn't open my mouth. Okay, I couldn't open my mouth because my heart was going to come out. I mean, this was we know what it is, but at the same time, this is my first experience, And then I had Bingy drums beating there, man. So in the end, I got up and I went. I walked into the tabernacle and I walked straight up to the front. Okay, and I sat down. And I could hear what was happening in my heart was happening on the drum. So I was actually sitting and getting the drum straight to my heart, out to the drum. It was just me. I was one with it. I was completely at one with this drum, my heartbeat. And the next thing I knew, I was crying. The tears were coming from me, and I was I was chanting. I was just sat there. It was just like I was alone in the world, but not lonely. Oh, if you get me, I was just alone in that space. the Almighty. It was absolutely fantastic. I came out to be a complete different person.
We always say Naya Bingi rock the heart, you know?
Straight man, straight man, straight. Because at this time I was already no, not at 1975, but I was already in the knowledge of the EWF. I was already in the knowledge of certain tapping into certain things, but not fully in there yet. And yeah, it was after this that I met Bob Marley again, because he didn't know that I was in Jamaica, at the time. So yeah, he said, "Yeah, you're gonna have to come and do my publishing, man. I tell you about this before, and you're still telling me if I'm a see you reach at Jamaica, you tell me you wouldn't come in now. See you reach, right? Like this. So okay, so yeah, it was only a couple of years later. I mean, I came forward to the UK, and then a couple of years later, when the two sevens clashed, I was there. I was there. So yeah, that's my journey that began in that physical way, that way. But yeah.
So the two sevens clash. That's the year I was born, and now you're talking about reconnecting with Bob Marley. Give us a outline of what that relationship was like and the type of work that you were doing professionally for Bob Marley.
But first of all, I met him in 1972 in the UK. Yes. When I met Bob Marley, I was a music publisher already with Virgin Records. And I used to go to Island Records in the evenings. It was
All right. Stick a pin, because I'm an entertainment attorney. Tell us how you started in publishing. I think that's important to this story, and then bring us up to working for Bob Marley.
started in publishing. Okay. So another one of those first black person in the place in things where I was actually looking for a job and went into an employment agency to get a job. And when I walked in there, I thought, well, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to the interviewers doing their jobs, and I thought, but I can do better than that, and I can help black people. If I had a job like this, I just employ pure black people. That's my idea, right? And that's exactly what happened, because by the time I got to be seen by the manager, she said, "And what kind of job can I offer you?" She said to me, and I said, "Your job." She laughed, and I said, "Yeah, I want to do your job. I want to, I think I can do your job. Not your job, but I can do that job." And she said, "Oh, okay. So you want to start like at the ground level to be an interviewer?" And I said, yes, okay. That's where we start. Let's go there. They'd never had a black person before, a black woman before. They had 2,500
Wow.
interviewers in the company stretched across the country, but they'd never had a black one before. So I had to go and meet all the board of directors and everybody before they could employ me, which is great, because with confidence you won before you started. So I walked in there and he's like, "Yeah, sure, start tomorrow morning, like this." So I did. And so I was in this job they put me on the main street, Oxford Street in town. So I was in the window, like, you know what I mean? And now I realize, or even then I realized, that they definitely wanted more black people, to employ more black people as a company. Mr. Reed, I think he had that idea. And I was a perfect person for that, because that was my idea anyway, to get black people working. And so I did. I was there and I did well, man. Before 3 months, I'd gone over the mark of that. I had to be promoted after 3 months. They had to promote me. And that job that they promoted me, I was earning commission, right? That second phase. And this was too much for them. I was making too much money. So it came to Mr. Reed's attention. He's like, "Oh, okay, promoter." Boom, I was manager. Within 6 months, I was manager of that branch that I went to was a small branch by comparison to the one that they put me in. Okay, I was in a major branch, with staff. You know what I mean? I had a whole bunch of stuff. So I was in this job doing so well, and then one Virgin staff member, she came in. And then A&R manager, the female one, she came in to look for staff, and they were looking to set up the publishing company of Virgin, and she asked me if I knew anyone that would fill the role like that. So I said to her, well, I don't have anyone in the books. So when I get people in here, I just get them jobs. I don't keep anybody on any books. How about employing people? She said, yeah. She said, you're the person that I want. I said, oh, I don't know about that. I said, I'm getting good money here. You know what I mean? She said, look, I'm gonna go and talk to Richard Branson. She went away. She came back up like a couple of hours later. She must have just gone out and phoned him or something and said, I found the person for you. Whatever, what salary, whatever she wants, give it to her, whatever. And she came back. She said, look, my boss said, I'm to get you. I said, oh, are you headhunting me? Is that what you're doing? Well, kind of, showing off on her. And that was it. So I went. So she said, yeah, we want to train you in music publishing. Yeah, so I went into Virgin and went on training. So I had to learn everything about PRS, MCPS, PPL, everything, all that information, reading a contract, putting it in, and I loved it. I totally loved it. Because I did have an idea one time in my life that I wanted to study the law one time. So that fitted in with that one. I didn't have to go too deeply into it, but just in the music publishing guide situation. And it was really a fantastic role because there was so many, reggae music was just coming up. It was just happening. A lot of artists didn't have any idea about publishing or anything like that. So as soon as they came in, and then Virgin was signing people. So as soon as they were signed, I was on to their publishing, setting up their publishing for them so that people could make money, from their music and from their songs and from their works, so that was exciting. So there I was as a music publisher, and I know all the record companies now. Island was my, and Drop Off Tapes. We were almost on the same street, Virgin and Island, in Ladbroke Grove. And so dropping off the tape, I'd pick my son from nursery. He was 2 years old. Pick him from nursery and then go to Island and drop off the tapes. Usually, as soon as I arrive in the door, he's in the company somewhere because nobody's seen a dreadlocked 2-year-old boy before, And so it was like, wow, he was just, and he was very bright and he was ready to talk to anybody, no matter what. He's got my DNA going on. I see it in my grandchildren now, bold as anything. They don't care about it. They care what you look like. They're talking to you if they want to, you know what I mean? Like this. And so, so then I couldn't find him. And Denise Mills, his Blackwell secretary, said, Bob Marley's in the studio, That's probably where he is. Then he spent all the time looking for him. Couldn't find him anywhere in the company. So as I went to the door, there was Bob Marley staying. This is my youth, my youth, this, my youth, this. So I knew immediately that you must be talking about my son. So when I got to the door of the studio, my son is sitting on Bob's lap. And I see him, and he's just picked me up because my son is like that. Even in his adult times now, I just, if we're in the same environment, I just have to think about him, and he's right there in front of me like this, like this. So so it was like that. As soon as I looked in the room, he saw me, but he just switched back himself. So Bob said, "Are you mad at that?" He said it loudly so I could hear him. At the door. So my son must have said yes. I couldn't hear what my son, but he must have said yes. He just turned around. Bob Marley just turned around to me and he said, "Am I you this, Am I you this?" And I said, I'm like, okay. I said, it's obvious you don't know biology because I'm his mother and I've never seen you before in my life. Like this. English lady, I marry you this. That's our first meeting, okay? Couple days later, he's on my phone. No, I've got to say this because when he said go on to your mother like that, my son came off his lap, and as he was coming towards me, I could see there's Bob Marley's face in the background there. My son, and they seem to just merge into one face. I'm like, what is going on here? Because he looks just like him. That's the first time I meet him. So I said to Jah at the time, I said it to him, I said, you say you're going to give me trouble in my life now, because people going to believe says this man picked me, Yes. That was what I said to Jah straight. He was 2 years old. And believe me, up to a couple of days ago, I've had that. Wow, are you sure? There, of course. If he was Bob Marley's child, the whole world, not just people on Earth, in Jupiter and Mars too, they would know. Yeah, but this is my divine brother, right?
Yes.
And a couple of days later, he rang me. He said, okay, English lady, say, me find out, say, you're a publisher, you're a music publisher. I mean, we want somebody in Jamaica come set up music publishing for me, And I said, oh, Jamaica, oh no, I'm not going there. And he said, yeah, okay, never mind what you think. Me I tell you now, so you'll come, and you're going to set up and publish it for me. I'm like, okay, if that's what you think, that's fine by me. You can think whatever. You're free to think whatever you like, But yeah, so that was, and then years later, of course, there I was, after many miracles in Jamaica, to get myself in that particular house that we lived in. And the miracles is that, there was the prejudice against Rastafari in Jamaica when I arrived there was just absolutely terrible. 1977. It was just really, really very, very bad. Very deep. I mean, not just the elder story, the current things going on. Persecution against the male in the family was very similar to what I was witnessing in the UK about the black man being, criminalized and so on and so forth. It was very much like that in Jamaica against Rastafari males. So it was the women, I sisters, who were stepping forward, really. And then you were getting, you had to step forward like the breadwinner, because the system, society, Jamaica wouldn't allow, not giving no Rastaman no work. Yeah. Even look here, even as long as them have dreadlocks, them can't get no work. That's why the 12 Tribes of Israel was such a very good organization, a big organization to facilitate those without dreadlocks. So Rastafari could be working in the workplace, but without dreadlocks. So that kind of thing, a lot of ones in Jamaica working without dreadlocks couldn't have Rastafari people come and visit them, for example, in their workplace. You know what I mean? Because it would immediately be so it's a kind of an apologetic kind of position you took in that regard. It was, seen like that, but at the same time, we were strengthened because we were young. Everybody was young at the time. All the houses, mansions, as it were still young. So it was about strengthening each other. So you were happy to find the 12 Tribes of Israel without locks in a workplace. The women were allowed to wear locks. So again, it's very much like Babylon's system. As long as you don't cover it, then you were accepted as a woman. You understand? A Rasta woman, which of course defeat the whole purpose of the Naya being sisters anyway. So the 12 Tribe sisters were the ones who was gonna get the work. The 12 Tribe virgins and virgin was gonna get the work. You understand? So the Naya being the society was definitely against the foundation, against the ones who were holding that order in that regard, And so yeah, this is why they started the myth that the Rastafari children can't go to school with locks, because the Nyabingi were the only ones who were holding out to say they're going to dreadlocks their children. But yeah, that's another story, because I have to break down those barriers as well, because I'm not having no barriers, because Rastafari set I and I free. You understand? Not to be imprisoned neither by ideas nor by physical liberty. Understand?
Very, very key point that you touched, because the poverty that we now see experienced by the movement in Jamaica came not just because of in a vacuum. It became because of persecution, lack of access to employment and education because of the faith. And this is part of the repertory action that has to be taken internally from the government of Jamaica. There are two levels of reparation. There's a reparation from the colonial master, but there's also reparation from the state itself that denied Rastafari brethren and sistren the ability to develop economically, businesses that persecuted. So these are ongoing matters. But I want to touch the journey to producing, from working with the Honorable Robert Nesta Marley to then producing one of the seminal works. I am the reading Ras, Mama Ivan. That means that, books. And one of the first places I saw the Rastafari Liberty as a young student at Howard University. Born in Jamaica, grew up in Toronto, Canada. So I also, had a diaspora experience growing up in terms of identity, very strong Jamaican roots, but not growing up in the culture, but then being re-exposed to the culture through these visual imagery. Of course, Nana Farika's in one of the Jah Hug books, and many ones that I would come to know. But this book was a gateway. Talk to us about the inspiration for that book, and well, before you go there, just seal up the part about Bob Marley and how that relationship went, the evolution of that relationship, and then take us into the Jah Hug years.
Yes. So here I was in Jamaica. I had my experience. Now, Naya Bingi, one. My heartbeat is there with the drums, and so yeah, 1977, and we say yes, this is time now. The 2/7 clash. It's time to start our journey of repatriation, which we wanted to do. We didn't want to go straight to Africa. We wanted to first go back forward to the hills of Jamaica and really live it out in a way that we could now step into Africa and be airy. We're going to go and collect water from the river. We're going to, to how to cook, survive the bush, as it were, from starting from scratch, as it were. And yes, so we did this as a journey together, as a Rastafari family couple together. And when we got, unfortunately, when we got to Jamaica, it was a different perspective, because what you're in England and you think that everybody that you see that is saying Rastafari is actually Rastafari with good heart and so on, and dreadlocks, yes, and so on. And then we arrive in Jamaica, we find out that, whoa, there's all these people. I never known no Bobo Shanti before. I didn't know Bobo Shanti before. I didn't know about 12 tribes, yes, but not not in a functional way. And so it was a different. And then the brethrens, who was just leaders of the movement at the time, you wouldn't go to a bingy and see a brethren with his wife, with his queen at the bingy. So it's just like it was a man thing to begin with, very much. There were sisterins around, because there were sisterins in the age-old ones, the matriarchs from ancient times, when they were being persecuted on the street sides, and it was brethren. They used to have a one sisterin with them, whether it was somebody's queen or not, but one sisterin was usually there with the brethren them on the roadside, beating the drum, shaking the shaker, not beating the drum, but shaking the shaker and chanting. But in terms of inside of the Nyabingi, it was not an accepted fact that a woman that belonged there, put it like that. But at the same time, you as somebody who knew, as it were, if you arrived at the night bingy as a single sister, you were welcomed all the time. The virgins were there to put up your tent for you in the bingy, and it wasn't a sexual thing. It was just a brother and sister thing, and looking after our young princesses, our young queens in the movement. And there was that sort of role. But at the same time, on a personal level, our brethren were faced with, whether it was a tradition, it was just that, from my personal perspective, it was woman couldn't be Rasta. Because, not because, I don't know why, but from the perspective of my kingman at the time, that was his view. So, it meant that there were things that I had to do, live my life as a Rasta, serving His Imperial Majesty, that had to be in secret from my husband. And it was, I've made, even my working at Tufka, when I started working at Tufka, it's about 9 months later that my kingman, my husband, know that I was working there. And how is it? Because the movement was such. Your man spent very little time at home. He actually was more with his brethren all the time. You know what I mean? He'd get up and he'd go off with his brethren. And whatever they were doing was all about the man development. Oh yeah, developing the nation. That's all very well. But what about the sisterins? You see, you were kind of just at home with the youths then. You're not being told about any Rasta gatherings. You're not being brought into the public like that. And then I found out it's coming from the time of persecution in 1963 when the Prime Minister issued the order of bringing all Rastas dead or alive. Okay, so from that time, the Rasta woman, even my testimonies from the ancients that I got, right? I got 385 testimonies from Rastafari elders in 14 parishes of Jamaica.
Wow.
And the most of them were not ones that anyone saw in any bingy in the times that I was interviewing them. Okay, they weren't going to bingy anymore. But the testimonies of the sisterins, of the matriarchs, came like this. They said that what the police were doing to Rasta woman, the time when they were persecuting and trying to annihilate the brethren, was even more terrible. So that Rasta woman, it don't make sense that you actually declare yourself as a woman, Rasta woman, because the things that they would do to the sisters who were with the Rasta man them was unspeakable things. Acts of genocide that I've got on testimony from ones that was putting off women from joining the movement.
We don't, because even this is news to I consider myself a student of the movement. I could surmise that some of these things were happening, but I've never heard one talk about the persecution that the sisters them face, brutality, and these things. So this is something we're going to have to dig deeper into, not on this episode, but we're going to have to do a feature just on this aspect, because I don't think the public is aware what Rastafari sistering, had to deal with. I had the honor of meeting ones like Ma Shanti, Mama Bubbles, and others, and the joy that they experience. But I also know that they went through a lot of tribulation. Just recently meeting ones like Dr. Dean, and when you hear their testimony, you feel that pain that they went through. So I just wanted to interject that, but continue with the journey to Bob Marley and Jah Hug.
As a result of those kind of experiences, my kingman was now of the thing that Rasta woman cannot be Rasta. Okay, so I'm thinking that maybe it was just a declaration of him saying just to preserve your life or yourself, but it was being told to me like this. So I took it like, no, that's wrong. And I know that His Majesty is with me. I know that. I've got my personal experience. And I didn't go through a man. It was my own personal experience. So therefore, as I said, I kept things from him. But one of the things was, as I said, the work at Tufka, because he would be off with his brethren, sometimes for weeks on end, and I know that he must know that Jah was with me, because he didn't look back to say, oh, how are you coping with the children? How are you managing? How is, you know what I mean? So that was a testimony to me that he knew that I was with Jah, but he's not admitting it. You know what I mean? So anyway, but that challenge now, what happened was, he was getting knocked on the head as a journalist. He couldn't write in patois like he wanted to do in Jamaica. He could write in patois in England, but they wouldn't allow him in Jamaica. Every time he wrote, they would send it back the script to say, please edit it and write in English. This is in Jamaica. So that was not happening. So I said, forget about them. Let's write our own publication. Let's do our own publication. As in, there's a lot of information we need to know more about Rastafari. There's a lot of information we need to share by this knowledge. We are going to do the research and get it, but we're going to do that. At this time, I also started a university degree, because this was not in Jamaica. We started the Jah Ugly Man. Okay, we had 3 episodes. That was the first book. Okay, so the Jah Ugly Man came about because the Rastaman, the treatment of the Rastaman, it was like an outcast of society. So rather than be persecuted into economic depravity, right? We do our own thing, because that's who we are as a people. We create our own economic structure and our own, so that we can survive and look after our families. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do it from a nation building perspective. So the Jah Ugly Man started. We did 3 volumes of those, and that was for the 3 daughters that we had. Okay, each one, it was a celebration of that. So it was during my pregnancy in 1977 to 78, that I came up with that idea and practically forced the man to start writing, because it was all about reggae music, and he did not want to be writing about reggae music anymore. And he'd already done that. He don't want to be doing that. He wants to write about Rastafari. Okay, let's do it then. So I just started to talk about the themes that we could write about, the things that we need to know, that we need to share, that one need to do and understand. The first thing is, then we had the 3 volumes of the Jah Ugly Man, as I said, for each one of the daughters. Yes. So the first one came in 1978. The second one came in 1980. The third one came in 1982. That's Jah Ugly Man.
Wow.
That's for the 3 daughters born in those 3 years. Zila, the youngest, in 1982. But the others also shine in their own rights. Okay. So then we were in Jamaica then. And it was all about my being the person to sell the books, because he didn't want to do that. He didn't want to face the people in terms of that work. The persecution was also going to come, and some level of rejection and embarrassment and what have you. We wouldn't have. I couldn't have that. We couldn't have that. I had to change that perspective. So the Jah Ugly Man, the Jah Hug, Jah Ugly Man became Jah Hug. And that became Jah Hug when we moved back forward to the UK. Okay, because we're now ready to go forward to Africa. Having spent 13 years in Jamaica, we've gone through a whole lot. I work at Tough Gong, didn't stop there, there's a whole bunch of stories and treatments. Just to know that at Tough Gong, I should just say this, because Bob Marley, Tough Gong was the first international Rastafari company that had only Rastafari people working inside there in Jamaica. Yeah, so that everyone, including the cleaners, were Rastafari people. Everyone, the salesman, etc. Fully, completely, Rastafari lawyer with Dan Jobson doing a great job. and you know, and so on and so forth. Big encouragement, big upliftment for the nation. Yeah, to have an organization like that. Bob Marley was quite a superlative angel of the kingdom, I'm telling you, because you know, every Friday evening people would come from all over the country and line up all the way back to King's House. I don't know if you know the situation of Tough Gong, right? It's on right there, on the King's Highway, or King's House, the Governor General's home, is just a block down the road, right? So the people would line up all the way back to King's House, which incidentally it was quite something because you know, when I was working at Tough Gong, after even before Bob passed and after, I used to walk. I lived in a place that was near King's House at the back of it, so I actually took that. That was my shortcut to walk to work in the mornings. I walked through King's House grounds. So all those soldiers and police on the King's House ground, they knew this Rasta woman who worked at Tough Gong, who walked through the compound with honor every day. No problem, no questions asked. You know, it was fine. And the next thing is, so they lined up. People came from all over the country with their questions, with whatever it is they needed to talk about or any problems they had. And he always had a solution for them. You know, it was really great. It was really fantastic. I was one of the most. And it reminded me of my own personal father, who was like that as a Seventh-day Adventist. Every Sunday, he used to go to the madhouse, to Bellevue, to poor the hospital at Jubilee, and to the poorhouse, which is downtown Kingston. And he was to bring food and fruits and biscuits and stuff that he was, you know, throw over the walls, but just directly bringing food to feed the people that learned that Brother Griffiths was coming, you know, on this day and always, you know. We weren't allowed to go, but I was the first one to say, I want to go with you and see these people. I want to see some mad, I want to see, you know, they say, oh, you want to go and see some mad people? My brothers and sisters laughing at me. I'm going, no, I want to see my father at work in this job, you know, that he does that there with these people. So anyway, it was similar to that. Bob Marley's coming to that. And yeah, I great absolutely everyone from the houses and mansions. I met them, all the leaders. I met them whilst working at Tough Gong, because Bob Marley actually put my desk in front of his, so that you had to pass my desk to get into to see Bob Marley. Which was very, you know, it was a position that people thought, oh God, you know, that's definitely his woman. No. It's like, but I was the one chosen for that job. So everybody came, and you know, and when I met Prince Emmanuel, he came in the door and he said, oh goddess. And I'm like, okay. I was still on the English words, you see me? I was still on the English words. So when he said goddess, I'm like, okay, okay. Like this, and he said, that's who you are, says Prince Emmanuel. I said, okay, you're here to see the governor. Are you like this or whatever? I can't remember what term I used at the time. He said yes. So, you know, and then he said to Bob, oh yeah, bring the goddess in. Because that's what usually happens as well. Gadman, it was the same kind of thing, you know. When they come and they meet me, they want me to come inside. And that's why I said to him one day, you know why you put me there, don't you? It's not the Booger Yaga downstairs that have to come and fight to get in. No, it's not the fan base. This is about the spiritual journey.
Yes.
It was strictly about that. So I met everyone like that. So yeah, I mean, an upliftment. It was, you know, it was great. It was a great honor to really work with him and to be myself.
The more I learn about Bob Marley, the more I learn why or how dangerous he was to the system, you know, and his vision. And I'm a little bit disappointed that our artists have not used him as a blueprint, you know, in terms of the artists that have followed, because I don't see anyone else setting up that level of enterprise around their brand and employing Ras Tafari as you have testified. And this is gonna go wide to the community. So I know the artists watching this platform, I want them to listen to what our elder is saying that Bob Marley did, and this is one of the reasons I think that Bob Marley was blessed by His Majesty to get that wealth and that anointing, is because he was really steadfast in the faith. Yes, we know the flaws, you know what I mean, and particularly I and I as Naya Bingi, we like to burn out them flaws there. However, when we look at the vision of the man and the execution of the vision, I gain more respect as time goes on, and I learn more details about the vision and what he was really implementing in Jamaica. And just to hear the eye is very humbling, because the eye, intimately, and I pray that the eye is writing a book. I'm going to have to start to follow up with the eye, because this is too much knowledge to remain in the eye heavens, and too precious. The sip is too precious. It has to be preserved. So I'm glad that we can, tease. This is just a teaser on part one, but the book has to be written. I'm also seeing maybe a feature film and some other, a documentary. This is just from this reasoning, Mama Askale. So we're going to have to reason some more, but there's a lot of content that the eye is responsible for, based on your journey. I want to talk about the economics of Jah Hug, because it was a powerful social impact. Was it a profitable enterprise?
Yes. So we started the Jah Hugs when we came forward to the UK on the way to Africa. And it was even more difficult. It was easier in Jamaica to get the Jah man started, because the persecution, the urge, the drive, to write about Rastafari was more compelling in that environment of ethnic cleansing for Rastafari that was going on in Jamaica. But it was a great foundation and strengthening to move forward. So the Jah Hug became, let's do that as an economic viability. So I started my course in university. I was retrained to be a teacher. And while I was on that, and at the university, having the facilities of the university for research and typing and computers availability and so on, I was the one compelled to do it. We decided on which themes to go for and to do each one based on that theme. And that was a Jah Hug. And yes, we earned money from that. We could. Because and the thing is, I must say, His Imperial Majesty showed me how awesome he is, how absolutely all-encompassing he is, how he stretched out his hand and it reached to the far corners of the globe with just one action, just one inspiration that you get, because this was completely about my work as distributor, marketing, promotions, the Jah Hug books, completely. Because Kingman said, there's no way I'm selling one copy of that. He was even with me sometimes when I was out selling, but not saying, don't tell anybody that I'm the writer. That kind of, it's just, so he could see me and that I was selling, that I was working it like that, it became a big thing, and for me it was great, because I was studying, and every occasion I had, I was in there with the Jah Hug books talking about what the content was inside of the university, keeping classes at lunchtime, where we just share information that based on the Jah Hug books, and want to say, I want a copy, I want some to send to this. And then there was also the mission, from my perspective, of just sending it free copies all over the world, in Africa especially, in the black world. There were many free copies. People in Zambia would write to me because I was the person doing all the marketing. And so I'd get letters from Zambia where they said they read to the village that copy, that one issue I sent them last night. They were reading it to the village and they had to read it over and over so that people would come for readings from the same book. So can you please send me another copy of that same book, because now we photocopied it, and as the time grew enough, ones were photocopying it and sharing it, and then ones started to photocopy it and sell it, and then it became like this. So my idea, because I was completely responsible for the marketing, and there was no questions asked about whether or not I gave 10 copies there. In the beginning, there wasn't. But afterwards, there was like, oh no, you can't be giving away so many copies. But, I was very happy to give, to share it like that, because I knew that it would spread. It's important, those words are important because they were coming from divine inspiration, I'm telling you, man. And I have the same experience with the Ras world now. It's just a divine thing that's going on. The Father said, these are the topics, you're inspired for the topics, and you move to them. And he answers, he solves every problem. So if you think that you need some more research on this particular topic, it will appear, it will come. It's easy. It's just like you need some more money to reprint that one. That will happen. Somebody will just come and say they want 40 copies or 400 or would like to do that, or, it's inspiration. It's really His Majesty's work. They have this chant that say, go before us, Jah, go before us, and do thy work thyself. I burn that out, I burn out that man. Why won't you tell him to do him work himself? What are you for? If you're telling him, no, seriously, brethren, you're telling Jah, go and go do your work yourself, man. What's the purpose of me if I'm telling him that? No. I don't subscribe to that one. So it's go before us and show, make a path for I. Go before I, Jah, go before I, and make a path for I. Yes, because that's what He's doing. He's making the path.
Okay.
Yeah? And then He inspire you to do the work after that. Even to study. We need Him. We need it. You know what it's like. You need to have Him inside of you to be propelling you to do that study so that you can achieve, because it's not just about you or your generation but the whole nation things, and that's the community, the whole world community. Anywhere you go, wherever you live, people are looking at you as a Ras Tafari to see how you behave, who you are. Many ones forget that, and I just like, it's easy enough for ones to lose faith in their works, in their jobs that they're doing, in their tasks, because things get hard, But don't do that. Don't lose that picture. Don't lose that. In my house, there's a picture on the wall. In your heart, there's a picture that when you reach a certain place, you see, you just reach for it and you say, oh gosh, get up and do something about that. Because we are the gods that we're talking about. You see what I'm saying? We are Him. We are representing Him in that way. Not in the way that loose way I'm talking, that people talk like, oh, you're going like say you're Jah, you're going like say you're no go on like nothing like. It's a real thing, you know what I mean? It's real. So is your faith. So is the continuity of the journey. So is the works connected. The miracles happen, when we didn't have anywhere to live. I reached a point many years ago, in 1978 in fact. By this time, before we were at we do the first job, I'm sitting at home and I'm like, okay, Father, we need somewhere to live. I've just arrived here and I've lost all the money. They've stolen. We went and lived among some people we thought were Rastas. It was supposed to be a Rasta commune in the hills, but they were all a bunch of rascals in terms of that, because I will never forget. You see that April 22nd, 1978. You know what date that is?
April 22nd?
That's the date of the peace concert, April 22nd, 1978.
Oh.
That was the date of the peace concert, right? The one where Bob Marley held up the hand to the opposition leader and the prime minister of the country. Well, it was on that date we left up from the hills, left our things in this commune that we were living in, the rest of the commune living in, and went to that peace concert. Went to Tough Gong, in fact. I went in the bus with Ras Michael and the Sons of Negus. Very heavily pregnant I was, to that peace concert. When we got back, we had nothing. The people had brought a truck and moved on everything of ours from out to the hills, so we had nothing. You know, I told you when Jah give us experience, you don't give it lightly. So we had nothing, just the clothes on my back. That's the only clothes I had
Wow.
to my name. Yeah, I'm telling you. 1978, April 20. Well, let's say the 25th, I got back into the hills to get that, to find that. So we had to find a way, and it's only a miracle. It's only Jah gonna do it. So I know how to rely on him 100% because there was nothing else to rely on. There's no one else to rely on like this, and so I waited for him. I just said, well, just tell me when I must do that. Tell me when I must do that and let me move at that time. And that's what I did. Tell me when I must move. And he told me, like, just like, go out now. You know, like, this morning is the day. So I can get up in the morning and get myself ready and wait for the instruction to say, go now. I started using that skill with him, connecting with him so closely that he would say, yes, go now. So I went when we needed somewhere to live. And I waited, I prayed about it and waited. At the time the Kingman was away with his brethren them. Don't even know, you know, after the peace concert, you did know that we got robbed, but it was all my things, as it were, you know what I mean? So anyway, no problem. Waited, and then he told me, yeah. So I just used the money that I had, just the bus fare to go one stop and then come off the bus and start walking in the direction as like, yeah. And I walked and I walked, and when I got tired, I stood and waited, holding on to the bus stop. Like this, you know, those little one post bus stop thing, and I was like that, and I held on to it, and as I held on to it and looked down, there's a $10 on the ground. It was the first thing that part of that miracle for the new house. Okay, that was $10 on the ground. So when I bent down to pick it up, there's nobody else on the road. I bent down to pick it up, and as I picked it up, I noticed there's a road right across from me. From where I looked up, and I just said, okay, that's the road to go up. I'm going up there. When I walked up that road, it turned out to be a crescent, and when I come to the end of it, there's a gate open. Okay, so I just went in. I didn't hear any dog. I just went inside there and walked around the house, and it's uptown we're talking, right? It's uptown. And I went, and this man said, oh, how did you get in? I said, oh, the gate was open and I closed it. And he said, oh, thank you very much. Oh, wow, sit down, he said to me, because of course I'm speaking in an English tone, you see me. That's why, you know, Father built me like that, so that when I reach prejudice, you can, when you reach places, I don't even know sometimes when it's going to be that it's going to come out of me like that, you know what I mean? And
Yes,
it works.
yes.
It just comes out and it works. That's what they were impressed with. So the man said, oh, sit down, please sit down. And your heavenly prayer, now what's happening? What can I do for you? And I said, I'm looking for somewhere to live. I need a house to live in. And he said, oh, okay, well, I do have a place. And you know what? Let me take you to it. And it was like a maid's quarters of a house, not too far down the road. But you got one bedroom, one big bedroom, you got a kitchen space, you got bathroom and toilet space. What more do you need? Nothing. Okay, you got a space. The man brought me, he said, it's okay, you don't have to pay me any rent. Okay, you don't have to pay me any rent. Do you understand? So miracle place. So we got that place uptown. There we were, and then Bob Marley drove by one day and saw my son outside playing. His son, as he called him, outside. I heard the car brake screech. When I went outside, there is Bob Marley sitting in his Jeep without any shirt on, and there's my son sitting in the passenger seat. By the time I got outside, that's the position I got. And he said, you didn't tell me that you come English lady. Oh, you're not Jamaica, you don't tell me say you reach. Well, yeah. Anyway, pack a bag for my youth. That's what he said to me. Pack a bag for my youth. I go country. because he was always proud. Because Bob Marley, maybe many of you listeners, readers, viewers don't know this, but Bob Marley never actually saw any of his birth children with dreadlocks ever, not one. But my son had dreadlocks. His youth, the one that he called his youth. That's why, because that was his youth that he knew with dreadlocks. You see me? So that was it. He went with him, and that was it. So soon after that, I got the call to go to work at Tough Gum. But yeah, that was 1978.
Does your son remember Bob Marley?
Absolutely, he does. Absolutely, yeah. And he also knew that Bob used to tell him when he went to get Ziggy and them. He used to say, "This is your big brother," you know. Would say, "This is your big brother." And that's why our dear sister Rita always had for years and decades. She sent all kind of people to ask me the question if I was really Bob Marley's child, or if I really did have a relationship, like a sexual relationship with Bob Marley. Nah. Many of I and I, even to this day, we don't understand about brotherly and sisterly love. You agree with that? It's a real thing, you know. And it's a real problem in our community, because we can't accept brotherly and sisterly love. We have to, if you see a man, you have to be with her. No. Only when we say every time you see her, you have to, everybody thinks that you're there with her. You know, every time we talk to a woman out there, everybody thinks that we're there with her. And that's some very low mentality, actually. Especially when you're on a divine journey. You understand? We have to let go of those kind of insecurities and move forward into brotherhood. When we do real brotherhood and real sisterhood, you know that we have unity. Yeah, man, it's a key to that. It's a real big key to that. When we can look at our brothers and sisters like brothers and sisters, not bedroom mates, so that we can.
Serious. Take us to the journey to Africa, because the I is one of the Ras Tafari family that has lived in Africa, Ethiopia. There is a pillar. I interviewed Kip Ezekiel on this platform, and he says, Mama Askale, I want to meet teacher them, and she one of the people where, really put me where me at right now. So, him really spoke so glowingly of the I, and he's doing mighty work in Ethiopia, and credits the I with introducing him in Ethiopia to once. How did that connection in Ethiopia, and just paint a picture of what the reality of Ethiopia is for our global audience?
Yes, first of all, I want to say, by faith, I always quote this for Sheshamani. In the Ras World calendars, they go by month, right? For the Sheshamani month, I always quote this Hebrews from the Bible, because by faith, Abram obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. By faith, he dwelt in the land of promise, as in a foreign country, dwelling in tents with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he waited for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God. That's my Sheshamani Bible verse, because every Ras World calendar month has Bible verses as well as His Majesty's speech for each month. Yes, and there's a speech that's always relevant for each month. So by faith for Sheshamani, by faith for Africa, because many of I, we go to different parts of Africa, and we still have difficulty in integrating with the people, because first of all, you have to have a love for Africa and Africa. That means that it's without condition, but it's smart. Because you're Rastafari, you're moving from a divine perspective. That means to say, you might not know everyone, but the Almighty knows everyone. So by faith, you're working with that Almighty knowledge of everyone that you're meeting, man. Yes. So we come with experience. And my first experience of living in Africa, being in Africa, is with the ancients. Always. Because, growing up with my granny teach me a different level of love from anciency and from that age people. So with that, having done the 14 parishes of Jamaica and got my 308, it was easy for me to connect with Rastafari wherever I go, Rastafari elders. Because they are His Majesty's personal servants. The ones who even work was on his payroll. And I have been blessed to meet ones like this. When I first connected with the ancient patriarchs of the Ethiopian, it's called ancient Ethiopian patriarchs, right? Ancient Ethiopian patriots, rather. Patriots. Yes, that one. When I worked with those people, it was easy enough for me to actually connect with them just from my connection with the elders. Connected with them. And yeah, so the ancient Ethiopian patriots, the first thing I did was to go on May 5th, Rastafari all over the world. May 5th, we honor that day as the Ethiopian Liberation Day. Yes, because His Imperial Majesty left Ethiopia on May 5th, 1936, and he returned to Ethiopia on May 5th, 1941. Yes, known as Liberation Day in Ethiopia. So that day, Rastafari celebrate that day all over the world. So we arrive in Ethiopia. Of course, it's a public holiday. We didn't realize that. Didn't realize it was a public holiday. So I'm hearing. So public holidays, that means in Ethiopia, the patriots, they march. So as a result of that, we marched with the patriots. So I brought my daughter, the first year that we were there for that public holiday in Ethiopia, I brought my daughter and said to her, brought my daughter to the march to witness the patriots marching. Yes, so on that day, the first time that we went for the for Victory Day celebrations, the patriots, they march in Victory Square. It's actually a public holiday, so it's like, wow, all Rastas all over the world, we're celebrating with Ethiopia together on this day, And the patriots march, man, and that's where the first time we did it in 2008. The one patriot, as I was taking pictures of them, my hands got tired. I was so excited. These old people, they were like, in their 90s, and I met one 103-year-old, right? That first time I went out there, and I aimed the camera and I was taking pictures, and my hands got tired. It was at my side, and then somebody said, one of the patriots in the march, said, "I love you," in English. And I didn't see who said that. And I said to Zila, that's me. They're talking to me. And she said, "Oh, do you know?" I said, "It's me." So I ran to the head of the line. And then waited, man, with my camera, waited for that person. And then she came right in my face and said, "I love you." And I snapped her, right? That was my beginning. That's Mama Azgadesh Sembeta, who was one of His Majesty's chefs, okay? So from the minute I connected with her that day, she became my Ethiopian mother who adopted me straight away, and vice versa. So I adopted my elder and she adopted me. And so I was having meetings there because she's a very important woman. One of the ones who Sylvia Pankhurst took out to Kenya when the Derg was killing the patriots' children, which is something that a lot of ones don't know. It wasn't just about His Majesty's people, but also the patriots. They were being killed. The patriots were being killed out because they were the ones who won the war against Italy, 1936 to 1941 at home. It was the patriots on the ground. And I've got stories, man. I've got their stories. And so I introduced, I was bringing every Rasta to in Ethiopia to meet with the Patriots. That was the most important thing. So on May the 5th, that was always my thing. Oh, please, let's do this, and go march with the Patriots, let's march with the Patriots. And every year it was the same thing. I was asking, begging ones, and they wouldn't do it. Until eventually, Kip, after his tribulation, he came forward and said, yes, I'll come. And I said, bring people, man. So he brought a bunch of people, and that was great. We marched with the Patriots. And from the time we did that, I found that even May 5th, from the first few times that Kip marched, after that, in fact, I never spent May the 5th in Ethiopia much after that, but go to Ghana because it's my grandbaby's birthday, Earth Strong that time. Around that time. So yeah, man. So he's taking up the banner, and of course he's got his time out. We learned the language, so it's even greater.
So,
And it's wonderful.
the, the I speak the language?
Yes, I do have a little Casbicas tinish, tinish, but he's got it. You know what I mean? And the Patriots, they speak every language anyway. You know what I mean? Because they really His Majesty's dedicated servants. I mean, like, properly. You better careful when you talk about His Majesty or the royal family to them. Yeah, I'm telling you. Seriously. His personal family could not be so dedicated to His Majesty than I and I. You see what I'm saying? Because the rest of our elders in Ethiopia are I and I. I elders direct. And that's what they crave for, They crave for that connection with I and I. And that's what Kip, when I brought Kip in, he was so happy to come in with that and bring in his people. So now it's a real movement, you know what I mean? They don't want to do anything without I and I present. And they want as many as possible. They want numbers. They want to see numbers when they do, because, the system is against them. Yeah, but, that's the age, be protected. We have to protect the ancients always, and the anciency in our nation. That's what that's about.
Well, I know that the time is precious, and I know that the eye is a very busy businesswoman. We're just scratching the surface. This is part one, family. We're going to make sure that Mama Askale comes forward. We've been trying to do this for some time now, back and forth on the text. So this is just the beginning. This is just number one, and we're going to get her daughter. I'm assisting to, and she's doing some powerful work in terms of exercise. So we're gonna make sure we have her on the platform as well in Ghana there. But I want, before the Chad, just seal us up with the calendar, how ones can support.
So yes, just to say briefly, and all the details are shown on the screen. Please link up. If you're in America, we work with Sister Elaine. That's Deborah Walters. She's our main distributor over there. But we're looking to widen that. So please just get in touch if you're interested. We have 16-month education calendar. It's unmissable. Speeches, announcements every day. We're talking about current news affairs, all of the Rastafari positive vibrations. We only deal with positive things happening in the Rastafari nation. And there's so much. Ones would tend to think sometimes, you think, oh, it's not happening because you don't know. I mean, there's histories inside there. Look, I'm here at Kush Month, which, by the way, for 16 months. So we start in September of 1 year and we go all the way to December of the next year. So that's how you get the 16 months. So for example, Kush month is October month, and we deal with ancient African or ancient African stories. This year we feature Colonel Robinson, the black bomber, the first black American pilot who owned his own plane. And he actually flew to Ethiopia. There he is in his plane. Did you see what he named his plane? Askale Selassie, because he was going straight to Ethiopia. Okay, there's a big story about him because black Americans were not allowed to train as pilots, but he was working in the school as a cleaner. And every evening he used to take those notes that the students threw out and studied until one day he begged for an opportunity to fly a plane, and they laughed at him but gave him the opportunity. And even then, when he flew the plane with brilliance, they wouldn't let him stop cleaning. He had to continue to be a cleaner while they gave him some lessons for his pay now. And he did it. And finally, eventually, he got his own plane. And the first thing that man did was to fly to Ethiopia to fight the Italians, you know. Colonel Robinson. Yeah.
Mighty.
Colonel Robinson, let me show you. That's the 1st of October. That's the 1st October. We got 2 Octobers. We got 2 Septembers, 2 Octobers, 2 Novembers, 2 Decembers in every one of the Ras World calendars.
And I just found out I'm born in Kush month because my Earth Strong is October 2nd.
Ah, there you are. Ancient African studies. Yes, always. So for this year we talk about Colonel Robinson. For next year, just so that everyone remembers these great leaders of the Rastafari movement from the UK, Ras Bandeli, he was the one who upheld His Majesty's house in Fairfield, Bath. The house of His Majesty, he was the one that upheld it for many, many decades. He and his family. Yes, Ras Bandeli. And here we have Jablu. He also wrote a book about the Rastafari movement in the UK because he's an, elder of the Rastafari movement in the UK, a pioneer. And so is Ayadan, Ras Ayadan. So these three, we pay homage to them in Kush 2025. As I stand here on repatriation lands, this land was bought by one of our elders who's passed on there in South Africa. This is in South Africa. He bought that land and he came and he told us in a meeting in a Bingi Isis that I and the UK must prepare ourselves to go to South Africa, man. Yeah, and go and live on that land. Come and we can pay him later. We can come and build and pay him later. Just come, just get there. And then it didn't happen because, the ancient passed on. But Kush land is still there. Elder Makushi. He left it for I and I, so I was there to take a picture. So that's about Kush month I'm just talking about Kush month in this one. And we talked about the 2 Kush months, but you got Menen month, we got Adwa month, we got decolonizing Ghana month, we got coronation month, we got visible Empress Menen month, yes, Africa Liberation month, that's in May. Yes, man, the stories are grand. Always the stories here. We have speeches of His Majesty that relates. We have adverts that relates always. There's the Judah advert from yours truly. And so on. Very exciting. And all the details are there at the front where you can get contacts to get this one. You know what? It's an economic development for every community. So that the prices, I keep them at printing charge prices so you can get them out and you can make money from it. Because my abundance is all about the King of Kings. Ras Tafari. That's Ras World. 2024 to 2025. Get in it. Yes, I. Part 2, I can't wait. Can we do it in the next couple of days?
So there you have it, family. This was just the introduction. So mighty. We're going to continue to encourage our matriarch to write a book. This was blockbuster film worthy. And we're just touching. There's so many aspects that I want to dive deeper in. So we're going to make sure we stay in touch, we stay in tune. If you're not subscribed, if this is your first time, you can see the type of content that we do here on the Lion Voice Network. We're unapologetically Rastafari, unapologetically Pan-African. So become part of the Lion Pride, become part of the movement Rastafari, independent, non-aligned media. We are here. Why? Because the time has come for the Lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice. Iliai.
Lion voice.
Well, great is the Almighty, and greatly to be praised in the city of Askale Selassie I, the mountain of His holiness.
Yeah, from Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, whole entire continent.
Beautiful for situation. The joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion. From Accra to Addis Ababa.
Yes, it's beautiful continent. Better control, Mama Africa.
Very beautiful.
From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile for Mama
I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I see Mama. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw. We gonna use solar energy, use sanitation to build the ecology. We utilizing green technology. We hailing Haile Selassie first without apology. And then we build the youth them economy. We dismantle Babylon monopoly. We teach the youth them how to live properly. Tell them make sure them got the title for them property.
Yes, this beautiful continent. Better control, Mama Africa. From Cape to Cairo, from Timbuktu to the Nile, I smile for Mama
I love you, Mama. Your heart never harden. I wanna turn all your slums into garden. I wanna stop all of your youths from starving. I wanna stop all of your tribes from warring. So much to say, so many feelings. We've both been hurt, we both need healing. Since the League of Nations you've been appealing. You stand up against them backdoor dealing. I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long since I see Mama. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw. Then I hear you call Mama Africa. Been so long in America. Father of Africa set the law. The lion come and dismantle Babylon flaw.
So be still, all enemies of Jah. Know that he is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the Lion Conqueror. And it was said of Ethiopia, the highest himself shall establish her. His majesty was born there.
And I know that I love you so. There's no place that I'd rather go. Tired of walking through slush and snow. Repatriation, that's a must I know.
Yes, into this beautiful continent.